All right, as you guys can see by the gray hairs and the bald head, I am an older musician, and yes, I have used Pro Tools over the years. Now, I made a very interesting video about Pro Tools, and yeah, there was a lot of comments on that one. And if you haven't seen it, you might want to go and check it out. It's a very interesting conversation. But to be honest, as time has went on, Pro Tools is really becoming the Facebook of DAWs, meaning a lot of older musicians use it and they swear by it. But it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. Now, I know this video is stirring the pot a little bit and can make a few people upset, but that's the great thing about YouTube. People come here to search for things that they like, and they like to search for controversy. And most of you guys know I'm not really on that. But you know, I've been pretty cool for the past couple years. I think a few videos like this won't hurt. Plus, it sparks a good conversation. So if you're young watching this video, welcome on into the old folks club. And if you're older, and if you're willing to hear what I gotta say, go ahead and mix your stool softener up. Make sure you take your blood pressure pills. We're gonna have a little conversation today. Bolo! All right, before we get started, if you guys need anything for your studio, make sure you guys go ahead and click mysounds.com link in the description and get you something for your studio. They have a whole bunch of stuff on the site that requires no credit or background check, meaning all you have to do is order it, they'll ship it to you, and then you just make monthly installments on the equipment. All they just need is a credit or debit card hooked to the account so they can take the money out monthly. Now, it's not everything on the site, but it is a whole bunch of stuff on the site that you guys can go ahead and get right now with no credit or background check. So go ahead and click that sounds.com link in the video description and get you some gear today. All right, you guys know how much I rock with analog cases because they make the best cases that will protect your musical gear. However, did you guys know that they make very dope stands as well? You need to check out their XTS stands. These things are crazy. They come in 2 different sizes, and these things are made of premium steel. If you're someone like me who uses their MPC Live 2, or if you use like a Machine Plus or a Machine or like a SP404, or even like an iPad or smaller DJ gear, these stands are made for professional musicians just like you. And the good thing about it is you don't have to break the bank to get the stands. They're very inexpensive. So if you're a musician that is looking to get a professional grade stand, make sure you guys go ahead and click my analog cases link in the description and get you a stand today. Now, the other day I made a video about Pro Tools not being the industry standard, and I made the video knowing that it was going to get a few views and a few comments, but it actually went far beyond my expectations. I guess a lot of people are very passionate about the Pro Tools conversation. And to be honest, I had 2 titles for that video. One was Pro Tools is not the industry standard, and the title I was about to roll with was Pro Tools is not the industry standard anymore. But I went ahead and went for the first title because I knew that it would spark a conversation, and boy, did it spark a conversation. Now, do I want to take anything I said back from that video? No. I meant every single thing I said in that video. I'm not taking nothing back. But I will push that topic a little bit further in this video, hence the title. Now, I'm not expecting this video to get as many views and as many likes and as many comments as the last video, because this video is more contained to an age thing, which is very important because every day we get older and every day new babies are born. So over time, things actually change, and things that were in are slowly being phased out, and now there are new things being phased in. Now, first things first, I am not naive. I know Pro Tools is a very popular program, and definitely in the mid-2000s, it took off. And it became very popular, especially inside of a lot of music schools back in the day. And I ain't gonna lie, DigiDesign did their thing because they did a very smart marketing tactic, and they got that software in every single music school just about everywhere. And then if you were a student anywhere and just proved that you was a student, you can get a massive discount on Pro Tools back in the day. So not only was Pro Tools inside of a lot of the music schools back in the day, and then when these kids would come out of school and they would have their laptops or they would have their PCs and they would have Pro Tools on it, and they would have the first inbox and you're recording on it in front of your friends, and now your other friends are saying, well, hey, I need to get that Pro Tools too because you went to school for it and you learned on Pro Tools. Let me go ahead and get it. I'm a student too. So the marketing behind that whole thing was genius. I don't know if they were Avid back then or just plain DigiDesign, but it was genius on how they did that and how they got that program to basically like engulf everything that was around it. And then people like me, who was an 80s baby, at the time I was in my 20s, and then some people were still in their teens and they were being introduced to Pro Tools. And then all the people that was before us that were working in studios that seen the shift from analog to digital, they were the ones that gravitated towards Pro Tools because it was like the first system to where you could use your analog stuff with the digital stuff, and it worked pretty good. Wasn't the best sounding back then, but it was okay. So then other programs that was out during that time, hence Cakewalk, Nuendo, Cubase, all those other programs kind of got washed out a little bit. We just got to keep it honest. But something happened. People kept being born. And then what happened is a lot of people who were born after 1995 started looking at things a little bit different. Because if you think about it, people who were born in 1995 will be 30 this year. Yeah. Those babies will be 30 this year. You got to think a lot of those kids in 2005 were only 10 years old. And there were kids who were producing at that time, but there still was a lot of hardware production at that time. But then around 2008, 2009, I started seeing a shift with FL Studio. I started seeing a lot of young producers working on FL Studio for the ease of use and how it sounded. And of course, there was a whole bunch of free copies floating out there. A whole bunch of them. And as time went on, they got a little bit older, and yes, they did get introduced to Pro Tools by older people. See, the thing is, I was running the studio in Atlanta since 2007. These guys had no idea of what software to even record on. That's where the whole thing, can you mix and master my song during the session? Because these guys had no idea that you had to record a song and then have to go and get it mixed, and then you have to take it somewhere to get it mastered. They didn't know. They were just listening through the grapevine, and they just thought that, okay, if I come and record, you just got to do the mix and master, how much that's going to cost. And they didn't know. They didn't know how to record. They didn't know how to do anything. They just knew to come in, give you their beat, and just record. Now, in other genres, I don't know how that was. I'm just speaking on the R&B and hip hop side. That's all I know. But then as time went on and then consumer products started getting cheaper and cheaper and these interfaces started becoming cheaper, these particular artists started going out and they started buying equipment. And I started seeing that like around about the 2010, 2012 time during the recession, because people wasn't coming into smaller studios like that because a lot of people didn't have the money like that. And then some people were figuring like, hey, why spend my money on the studio when I could just go and buy my own equipment? Which that's what's going on right now. There's a whole bunch of consumer products out right now that sound actually very good and they're cheap. And then I started noticing a lot of the younger people who were buying this equipment were not buying the stuff that I had. I started getting a lot of sessions sent to me that were Logic sessions for some reason. And as time went on, I started getting sessions that was being recorded in FL Studio. Yeah, FL Studio. And it got me to thinking, are these kids really on Pro Tools like that? And I kid you not, y'all, for all of you older guys out there, I was just in the studio with all of my young engineers, and they were like, bruh, Pro Tools is dead. I'm like, whoa, for real? And it got me to thinking, you know what? They didn't grow up on Pro Tools like that. They grew up on Logic and FL. Because even though you got to think about this, Pro Tools was never really that good on Windows computers. As much as people talk about it, even if you did have a Windows computer, you still had to convert that thing over into a Mac to get that Pro Tools to work the way it's supposed to work. And a lot of these kids now, they were getting programs like FL, and they were actually recording songs inside of FL Studio. And you'll be astonished on how many kids right now are recording songs on FL Studio and on Logic Pro. Now, there is a few of them that are using Studio One, but a lot of them are using FL, Logic Pro, and I got to say this, Ableton. We can't leave Ableton out of this. Now, I know I'm not the biggest fan of Ableton like that, but we cannot leave Ableton out. And I know all you Ableton people out there, y'all swear by it. Y'all say Bolo, you're missing out. You need to try Ableton. You need to give it a chance. I might try it one more time, but I just can't get with it. But these younger musicians were not bound by the industry standard. Because like FL Studio, you buy it one time, you get free lifetime updates, and it came with so much stuff. Like FL has completely changed every piece of software that's out here. It came with all the effects that with other programs you had to go and buy third-party plugins to get the same effects inside of FL Studio. And then they kept making more effects, they kept making more sounds, and they kept being innovative because the younger audience, you have to feed that innovation to them because they need to get it right now in this microwave society. And one thing I can say is FL Studio is pushing the boundaries for all of the DAWs right now. Another DAW right now that's pushing the boundaries is Studio One. I love how they're pushing the boundaries on mixing, how easy it is to, track in there, and the actual sound quality of Studio One. They're doing a phenomenal job over there, and they're adding in so many features on all of their updates. Same thing with Ableton. I can't knock Ableton. They have a ton of features inside of the program to where you can do everything inside of that program and be done. Now, we all know a lot of EDM people like to use Ableton like that, and they stay inside the box with that thing. Like, they do everything inside of Ableton because it has pretty much everything that you need to do tracks like that. And same thing with Logic. They've added a whole bunch of new features to help not just artists, but producers as well. And then we come back to Pro Tools. And what Pro Tools did not do is they did not implement certain small key features to attract a younger audience and to attract more producers. Now, yes, you can make a beat in Pro Tools, you can do all that, but it is not like making a beat in Logic. It's not like making a beat in Studio One. It's not like making a beat in FL Studio. And it's not like making a beat in Ableton or Cubase. We ain't forgot about them either. And that's why I think Pro Tools kind of draws the line between being an older person's DAW versus a younger person's DAW. And now, before y'all get on me too tough, because I know a lot of y'all are very passionate about this, you got to understand where I'm coming at with this. There is nothing wrong with what these kids are doing. They're just doing it their way. The same way when a lot of us was younger, we did things our way, and older people thought we were doing it wrong too. You got to think, some of you guys are in your 40s right now, and some of you guys remember that switch between analog to digital. And man, was that a hell of a time, because a lot of those older engineers sat there and tried to crucify us for using digital products. And what did we do? We just kept it pushing, because believe it or not, some of the older people right now who swear by Pro Tools and who would get on these comments right now and talk noise about me saying that Pro Tools is not an industry standard and stuff like that are some of the same people who gave Pro Tools a pushback back in the day, and who gave some of us a hard time for using software like Pro Tools, Cakewalk, Nuendo, Ableton, FL Studio. The list goes on. So now that we're in that position, we have to understand that these kids are going to do their thing regardless of what we say. But I will say this, can Pro Tools become something great? I'm almost sure they can. But until they start implementing some of the new key features to capture this younger audience, it'll still kind of just be, the software for us older people, I guess. Because, I still use it, but it's not my favorite. I think there's so many things that have surpassed Pro Tools so far as feature-wise, and I see that more younger people are using other tools other than Pro Tools. And a lot of you guys want to sit here and gonna debate me about this, but I see this in the studio all the time. You have to be in the mix to see this. Yes, there are kids coming into the studio and recording on Pro Tools, but they don't even know how to use it. But you sit them in front of FL Studio and they know how to record a whole song, mix it and master it, and it comes out sounding phenomenal. You see a lot of R&B players, keyboard players using Logic, Cubase, Ableton, because how easy it is to compose in there. And then now more than ever, they're composing in these programs and they're putting down the vocals in these programs as well, because these programs are now catering more to a younger audience, and this younger audience is going to be the audience that's going to lead music beyond. So what I'm saying is, let's not be the old guys who are trying to force something that is not going to be forcible on the younger generation. I'm not, because as you guys know, I use pretty much everything. And if there's something I don't like about it, you guys know I'm going to speak out on it. I don't care what company it is. I don't care what they give me or what they try to entice me with. I'm going to speak out on it, and I'm going to let you guys know how I feel, how my one opinion in 8 billion people on this earth feels. But I will say this, Pro Tools can become great if they stop spoon-feeding us little features to keep us locked in into this whole subscription model. Times are changing right now, and they have to keep up with the times. And same thing with us. I understand that a lot of you guys like Pro Tools because you're used to Pro Tools. You're used to the basics of Pro Tools, and you're used to knowing all the quick keys, and you're used to seeing it just like how you were introduced to it. However, the times are changing, and it's just like every empire. Over time, all empires do fall, and new empires come up after that. And sometimes you just gotta accept change. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys learned something from it. And if you have anything you want to say, go ahead and leave it in the comment section. And like I always say, peace out.